Growing up, video games have always been a huge part of my childhood. I spent most of my childhood playing on my Wii, and when I got a little bit older, I got an Xbox 360. Playing video games was so much fun because, it's like a whole world. It's like a whole new world to discover. And, there was so many great games that I played, and it was just so much fun. So, why aren't games fun anymore? Let's take a look back at older video games. My first ever game that I ever got on my Wii was New Super Mario Bros. Now, this game was very simple and the objective was very easy. Now, basically you just progress from one level to the next and the levels gradually increased in difficulty. This design is very addicting and it's what kept me playing the game for so long. Once you got to the final world, World 8, you fought Bowser, who was the main antagonist of the game the whole time. You finally save Princess Peach, but as you do so, she turns out to be fake. A giant Bowser appears, and so forth, the final boss of the game. The game was so simple, and it's what made it so fun and easy to play. I feel like most games these days lack the simplicity that these old games had, and which were the best games of their times. So with all that being said, let's fast forward a little bit. After I started getting a little bit more invested in video games, I bought an Xbox 360 about 7 years ago. This is where I started playing Call of Duty more. My first Call of Duty game ever was Modern Warfare 3 and I loved it. It had game modes like the campaign, the multiplayer, spec ops missions, and survival. I remember spending hours upon hours playing all the spec ops missions with my little brother growing up, and it was the most fun I've ever had. The game is so simple, but more complex than what I was used to, going from, games like Mario to Call of Duty. There's a complex change in there. The multiplayer was fun. You can just hop into a match and play for 10 minutes. And it was so simple and you didn't need to commit for very long to the games. And that's the issue with most Call of Duty games these days. They try to overcomplicate everything and just add so much microtransactions and DLC, and it just kind of washes out the game and ruins it. 2014 was probably the biggest change in video games I've ever had. 2014 was the year that Destiny released, and I've never been so addicted and involved in a single video game in my whole life. I went into Destiny thinking that it was kind of like Halo, as it was developed by Bungie, and I thought it was a more simpler game than I soon came to realize. I had no previous experience with a loot and shoot type of game, and I kind of dropped the game as soon as I started playing it because I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was going on or how to play it, so I just kind of quit. A few months later, my friends started talking about it and they started playing it, so they said that I should start playing it again too. So I got back on Destiny and I started playing it for a bit with my friends. After I learned the game mechanics and how the loot and the armor system and how the guns work, I was addicted. Destiny has a looter shooter type game that no other game has ever been able to match the same. I remember spending hours and hours and days and weeks grinding to get the best gear and weapons. Not only did Destiny have an amazing loot system, but the raids were breathtaking. I remember entering the Vault of Glass for the first time, and just from the environment to the ambiance to the sounds to the boss encounters and the puzzles, it was an experience like none other. Destiny had a simple concept, but a whole underlying level of complex leveling and gearing up and perk rolls and special items in the game, along with a very, very unforgivable endgame and quite an amazing endgame experience. Destiny's one of, if not the best game I've ever played. It had so much content. Not only did it have raids, but they also had the Prison of Elders, where me and my friends spent hours and hours trying to defeat the final boss. This game's grind and leveling system and the way you feel more powerful the more you play is what kept me coming for so many years. So this brings us to the big topic and the big question of today's video, which is, why aren't video games fun? Why aren't they fun anymore? What happened to the good old days of video games? Well, there's no definitive answer to that. However, I have some reasons to believe why it is the way that it is. Now, this is all subjective and my opinion will vary to the next person's opinion, but I thought this was a topic that I should discuss. Video game devs and companies these days try way too hard to make their games unique. They try to make make them too complex, which just washes them out and makes them difficult to enjoy. Games like The Division, the new Call of Duties, Monster Hunter World, and many other game devs are just making their games overly complicated for no reason. Destiny was so great because of its simplicity and an underlying complex leveling system. Let's look at The Division for an example. Now, I can say this game looks very visually stunning and it is a beautiful game. However, the loot system doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You have a gear rating that goes up as you progress and get new gear, but it feels so inconsistent. Not to mention all the enemies are just bullet sponges and boss fights are boring. These flaws in the progression system, which I believe is the key part to most video games, should feel as if you're improving and getting stronger and more powerful as you play. I want to feel like the time that I've put into this game is actually going forth towards making me more powerful, not just kind of wasted. I have felt no sense of getting stronger or improving playing The Division or Monster Hunter World. Now, like I said, this is all subjective in my personal opinion. Some people love The Division and that's good for them, but a lot of people are also disappointed with it. With The Division 2 coming out soon, I truly hope they see their flaws and they improve their game upon it. Monster Hunter World suffers from the same issues that The Division has. The game is very slow paced and lots of commitment time is needed for just one session. Some bosses take up to an hour just to kill. Not to mention the combat system is atrocious and feels impossible to hit the target. Bosses are way too tanky and spongy, and well, the game suffers from it. The loot system could also use improvement. In order to craft new armor and weapons, you must skin the monsters that you slay to make new armor out of it. This is a cool concept, however it's a bit underwhelming as you know exactly what you're getting. I don't personally have an issue with the crafting system and the upgrade tree, but it's rather confusing to me at times. I would also like to quickly touch on Fortnite while we're here. Fortnite is one of the most fun games I've played this year, and despite what most people say, I actually think it's really fun and a great design. Now, before I get killed, let me explain. The game design is simple and it's easy to play with your friends. All you do is just hop into a game and play it and have a maximum commitment time of 20 minutes. Each game gives you a different experience depending on the guns that you get and how you decide to play it out. Now, with all this being said, what do the games of 2019 hold for us? Well, I already have my eyes on a couple of games that are coming out that I think look good. I'm waiting for Anthem and Doom Eternal, which both seem like really good games to come out. And other than that, nothing really seems to be interesting this year. I played the Anthem demo, and besides some minor bugs and infinite loading screen glitches, the game seems pretty fun actually. I can't say too much about this game quite yet because I haven't actually played the full product, but I do have high hopes for it. The issue nowadays though seems like it's mostly microtransactions. Games always seem like they want to take your money for no reason. They always want you to buy extra DLC and content, and it makes it difficult to keep up with the game. This is why I stopped playing Destiny 2, because I need to buy all the new content that I don't really want to buy. But you know, companies will do what they want to do for money. Now, just to kind of conclude this video, I know it's been long, but I honestly miss back when games were much more simpler and easy to just hop on and have fun with for a few hours with your friends. Everything's just got to be so difficult and complicated nowadays, and it just kind of ruins games for me. We can only hope that new games this year will be a better experience and better content for us to enjoy in 2019. But anyways guys, with all that said, thank you for watching. I'm sorry this video is kind of long, but I needed to talk about all this stuff and just kind of bring it to your guys' attention. A like or a sub would be greatly appreciated and would support the channel immensely. Thanks guys, until next time, peace out.